Matini Carnival, the Carrico String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
Good evening and welcome to another MTV Community Forum. I'm your host Byron Campbell, and of course Chris Daly. Chris, you're back. Missing in action last week. Welcome back.
Thank you, Byron. Happy to be back, and good evening, viewers. Pleasure to be on the program again once more.
Certainly missed you, Chris. Reggae, Chris. Reggae Fest last weekend. If you missed it, you missed a big show, Chris. I mean, thousands and thousands. I counted about 8,000, 10,000, lost count. But I give kudos to the organizers. Excellent produced show. I thought for me, the sound system was the best in the world. The management, the traffic, all aspects of it, high marks. Good for Grenada. Interesting, the day after, there was problems at the airport, like long lines, people leaving. So what I learned that lots of people came in from the region and even as far as North America for this show. So good for the economy, Chris.
Oh yeah, I think it was well produced. I have my little critics about it, but I think it was well produced. The sound system was great except when they started singing the mic. You were hearing some kind of feedback and whatever.
Yeah,
but
you got some
the
of that.
song for the band and so on was excellent.
Yeah.
That was done
It's a
properly.
new system, I think, from Judah sound
and
system.
they obviously need to do a little more work, and of course the changeover I thought was taking too long as well when you set up, so that kind of delayed the show. But outside of that, UB40 put on an excellent show, and the other artists, and I mean the show was targeted for people with your color of hair on your face and your head. You understand? And when the dance all type come, I left, of course. But it was a really good show. And from a touristic point of view, we had a lot of revenues coming in because of the show. So
But you know what I learned from a police friend of mine? He told me, the police, they were searched when you go in. But he said, you know what they took? Cigarette lighters, not cannabis. So they allow the patrons to go in with the cannabis, but not the lighters. Yeah, so it was interesting. It's interesting, Chris,
well produced.
Chris, well produced. Chris, rain past couple of days, yesterday, even this morning, unseasonal, but this is April showers, I don't know, but what is this telling us about the dry season? It's not as severe as it was predicted to be.
As it was predicted to be.
So farmers are probably happy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I am happy for rain.
Yeah.
I am a micro farmer, but I'm happy for the rain. And it is good to see that we get in the showers. Nawassa is not totally complete with their project yet, but certainly for the next dry season, we'll get the benefits of the new tanks and all of that storage areas. It was an excellent.
So we're moving in the right direction.
The only thing, someone was mentioning to me that the last time we had a shortened dry season and we had so much rain was the same year Ivan struck.
Okay.
So we need to just keep a watch and see what's going on.
Because
the atmosphere and things have changed so rapidly.
Chris, the effects of the war, the U.S., Iran, and Israeli war, the effects. What's interesting, though, the IMF announced today that they're saying that this could lead to a global recession.
Yeah.
Critical. I mean, we feel it here with the Strait of Hormuz blocked now. The price of oil continue to rise.
Yeah, the price of oil is hovering up $100 and more. It goes up and goes down, but it's hovering around the $100 mark.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was around $60, right?
Yeah.
$60, $50. So that in itself, for Grenada, instantly is fuel prices. The government, as long as they wouldn't let it go on the 18th, they said if it goes past 17, they'll hold it at 17, which means they will be paying on the excess. But energy, in terms of transport, in terms of Grenlec, and you're going to see that moving, Grenlec announced that price increases are coming. And of course, commodities on our shelves, food and basic
shipping
items.
Implications.
Yeah, shipping implications in terms of the freight. Freight is going to seriously increase as well. So we need to understand that when these guys make these decisions where they sit in their glass towers, it could affect the whole world.
But this guy, he's dangerous to the world, that's the point. And call him by name, is it Trump?
Yeah,
the US,
and at the end
course,
of the day, you see a situation where the European Union in particular suffering because of the blockade he now puts on, which is going to increase prices in his country. And he boasts that he has so much oil, he don't need nobody oil. But at the same time, he releasing no oil to the country, and the prices going past $5 a liter in some states. So it's a multiple effect. But China's response was interesting as well, because I don't see if Iran is shipping out an oil tanker to China, and China send one of their warships to accompany it. I don't see how Trump will blast them out of the water, as he say he was doing here in our region when the narco, he was judicial. So is it going to be interesting? And we did say by Iran in one of the programs, the longer this war goes on, the world is going to feel the effects of it, and it wouldn't end if the war ended tomorrow, because delayed response.
Precisely.
And most of the experts are saying with this thing we have a 2 to 3 year.
Yeah, because the oil that's been bought now is not reaching the market for several months.
Yeah, and remember the futures.
Yes.
Oil is done on futures. What the future price is expected to be, and if it hovers in that state for the futures going forward, next 6 to 8, 9 months, we're in trouble.
Chris, again back home within CARICOM, we have a major issue with the appointment or the reappointment of the Secretary General, Dr. Carla Barnett, that Trinidad came out very publicly with documentation to show that they were not satisfied with the transparency, with the consultation, with the results of the reappointment, and they're asking for a reassessment of this. But it's ugly. It's a distraction from the real issues that CARICOM should be focused on as a region. What do you make of it, Chris?
Well, Prime Minister Kamala Prasad have accused and have said these things. The chairman of CARICOM now said that is not correct. So it's a war of words. And when you see how Trinidad is posturing with CARICOM, it's not surprising that they will do that kind of stuff. She was not for the zone of peace. She spoke a lot of what some people would consider nonsense in terms of getting her crime situation in Trinidad, supporting the judicial extermination of boats. Nobody knows if it's drugs or not, and believing that will help our local crime situation, and we couldn't see the association. And then, of course, when she went to the U.S. and met with the Secretary of State, and they promised her the Dragon deal thing with Venezuela would come back for gas, and we haven't seen that materialize. And it's an interesting kind of posture.
But interesting, Chris, that Antigua and Barbuda ambassador to the OAS and the UN, Dr. Ronald Sanders, he's urging the CARICOM Secretary General to consider tendering her resignation amidst the ongoing controversy surrounding her reappointment to the post. In other words, he's saying, look, it's not worth it. She should consider this.
I wouldn't agree with that. I think CARICOM is in complex foreign exchange issues now with all the stuff that went on in the U.S. with the radar and all of these things and zone of peace. And I think we should keep who we have unless there is urgent need and there is some kind of malfeasance that went on with the lady that they need to get rid of her. We need some consistency as well.
Chris, we were making the news last week. We had a visit from the president of Venezuela, well, the deputy, or the acting president, Delcy Rodriguez. The visit, what does it suggest? First external visit, and she comes to Grenada.
Well, our first state visit, and it was Grenada. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has been close. We know we have had good relations through PetroCaribe and so on. But what is disappointing you have a state visit by a president.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard what was the president coming to do. It was a memorandum of understanding. What was the discussions? I mean, this particular NDC government, their communications is really poor, and it continues to be poor. I mean, I hear they talk about at the end of the day they will make a press release, but the lady have come and gone a few days.
But many believe that she chose Grenada as a first visit to assure not just Grenada but the Caribbean nations of its commitment to regional stability and to counter probably the Western influence. But at the same time, only yesterday, the U.S. relieved Venezuela of some of the financial issues by allowing them to work with U.S. dollars. But so far, all foreign sale of oil had to be approved by the U.S. and bank in a U.S. bank controlled by the U.S. So now they're easing that a bit. So it tells you really who is in control in that. We're on the politics, Chris, and the political update here now. Well, the Prime Minister has gone to Africa again with the release said his press secretary and the chairman of the Solid Waste Authority. He's gone to Ghana and I think Nigeria, having to do with economic, financial matters, you know.
Yes, well.
Okay, I say no more, Chris, that's fine. No, I am just updating things on that he's gone.
I have no issues with the Prime Minister or Prime Minister traveling. That's fine, Chris. But at the end of the day, when we make these foreign trips and so on, you expect the country to get some sort of benefit, whether it's, vice versa, whether what we give in Africa, what Africa has given us. Ghana, and why was Ghana and Nigeria chosen? Is it because they want to help us with our energy situation? What is it that the country will benefit? And of course, we're hearing nothing. We're not sure what the Prime Minister and his team is going there to do. And they say things in health. I think they really spoke about areas that they're looking to focus on. And hopefully human resources, health, and other things. So let us hope we could come back with some arrangements.
Well, let's hope so, Chris. I mean, but as I always say, that I find that we need to be more focused on the regional matter, the intra-regional trade. You know, there's so much potential
there. Not only that, when we develop ties with Africa, we're not talking transport. And how we get in the benefits of what we're going to do, whether it's commodities, whatever it is. But transport from Africa to this region is still a big thing in the air. We can't even get transport within our own region, from Guyana to up the islands with food. And we're talking, we're talking going further afield to look at it and what is going to happen.
Okay, so Chris, so on the politics, local politics, are we still projecting early election, or you see shifting based on the movements of the political parties of the NDC in particular?
Quite a number of people are predicting that it's going to happen in the first half of this year, June, July, and so on. I know you don't agree, but some people believe that is going to happen.
No.
But you could extrapolate and say the longer the Prime Minister takes to call the election, he could probably put his party in terms of momentum, what is happening or what is not happening with the NDC party now. The Polaris, to me, was more a political thing than an actual thing that's going to happen. So, I mean, he has to play a delicate balance. Way too long, you give your opposition people more momentum to criticize and whatever, and spread their message and get momentum themselves. And if you go too early, you could be, criticized of not achieving what you set out to achieve. The implementation rate with projects have been very bad. And
so that's the point, Chris. I think they want. I think. Well, that's what I believe, that they'll want to see, because the Prime Minister did announce last week the start of 2 major projects. There's another 2 coming, major infrastructural projects. So I will think they'll want to get that off and running so you have some results.
The only caveat I'll put to that, the Prime Minister announced he's going in a design, build and finance. And one of the particular contractors on the road projects have come out publicly and said that they're not paying him. The government is owing him a lot of money on the projects. When that goes out in the public realm, the people who come in to offer their services for design, build and finance are going to look at that and understand how could they get financing with all that risk. If a financial institution finances them with the bonds and whatever they need and the financing to do a project, and the government is slow to pay them, what is going to happen to these financial institutions? So it increases another risk factor for these design, build and
But they're
finance
charging for the risk
progress.
because now they're accepting the risk, Chris. That's part of the contractual arrangement, that the
Yes.
risk is being passed on to the contractors.
Yes,
They're going to charge
but
for it.
who is going to finance the contractors?
Ah, okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay, fine.
And the financial institutions that do it
The-
will look at this
Right through.
issue
Yeah.
and say, we ain't willing to take that
Okay,
risk.
that is true. Chris, gender-based violence, we agree that we're talking about this every week, and the angle I want to take is the silence and the stigma in close-knit communities, you know, fear of gossip. Victims may be related to the predators through the family or the church or work, so people are reluctant to talk about it and come out. So our work is to encourage them to come out, that they have a responsibility to come out and talk. But sometimes you have a dependency also. They live there. Where do they go? So there's a lot of issues facing there, but we have to highlight that and to make it known that talk about it.
Yeah, and I'm talking to the men here tonight.
Okay.
I think we need to get to a point where we say stop. Stop this thing with gender-based violence, whether it's sexual or otherwise, children and otherwise. Guys, it's time for you guys to stop this nonsense and get yourself in order.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you cannot solve a problem by beating or whatever else you tend to abuse, whether it's economic or social. So we need as guys to grow up and understand that we will be talking to you guys all the time to stop this nonsense and respect our ladies as they ought to be respected. So,
And what we want to say to that if you are someone or if you know someone that is being abused now, call 911 and
is really unit in the police
and there's a
department?
unit, and the gender-based violence unit, the number is 444-4357. 444-4357. Call them. You know, you need to get help. You know, don't stand there and
And we're
take
going to stay on
this.
it. We're going to stay on
Exactly.
it every week.
That's the point, Chris. Anything else, Chris?
No, I think we covered it. Yes,
Nope.
the traffic.
Yes, traffic.
Yes, he
Chris.
doesn't want me to talk about traffic, but I will talk about it. And the point I want to make is the issue that is going on with the parking of huge trucks and
Yeah.
normal and other vehicles on the shoulder of the roads.
Yes.
Right? And I understand that the law says from the middle of the road to left or right of the road, 10 feet of that belongs to the government
Yeah.
in terms of the police and what is happening there.
Yeah.
So when we narrow the road on the shoulders,
Yeah.
and then we still parking on the road, the government road,
Yeah.
we as people who traverse on the road, the estimation with a big truck on one side and another vehicle on another side, and you have 2 lanes of traffic coming, it makes it much more difficult and increases the risks of accidents and what can happen. So we really need to hear what the Transport Commission is going to do with these things.
And we're not hearing much about them now,
No,
too.
and the police have erected no
yeah.
parking signs in some critical areas on roads,
Yeah.
from Molineux section and
Yes,
so on.
yes.
And that has worked to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
you know, I saw an interesting thing on Cemetery Hill. They put it on, if you're going up Cemetery Hill on the right-hand side of by where the graves are, was no parking.
Yes.
Guys decided to go and park on the left because they didn't put no parking signs on the left.
Okay, so let me give you the news too. We have another 290 or so vehicles coming in this month again, so we add in total. But Chris, final before you go, a friend of mine sent me some pictures of the Davie Prospect Beach, the erosion taking place there. And the length of the beach now is how you call it, armor. I mean, they have stones, you know, boulders as armor to now block the water. So now the entire beach.
You're blocking access to the beach too?
Well, I mean, you can't really go
Yeah,
there.
we
I
had
mean,
that in Grand Mall, and I hear
no, but this is,
come out and talk
I'm
about
talking
it.
here about the entire beach, Chris. You know, the whole length of the beach is gone. The erosion there is major, it's significant. But the point I want to raise, Chris, that how did we get there? That's the question. And my view is that this is a result of the, how you call it, in the lower Sates, the breakwater, that my information tells me that was carried out without an EIA, environmental impact assessment, to determine the effects, if you put a breakwater, what it's going to lead to. So the lesson there, Chris, because it's done, it's history, is that we have to do, in all cases, proper environmental impact assessment to determine if we do A, what is the effect, what is going to happen as a result of that. That's the lesson there, Chris.
Well, that's for you. I'm not convinced that the EIA was not done.
You'll be surprised if you find out
the evidence.
If you find out what wasn't done, what would you say then?
Well, then I will be critical about it.
You will be.
Yes.
That's all I want to hear.
At the end of the day,
yeah.
when that breakwater was done for Satés, was to protect the same beach where the breakwater is done outside there, because there were talk at the time that they want to do a marine development project, and they needed the breakwater systems to be there so the water could get more calm, so you could access the area inside that particular area where the beach and so on was. And that area going up, further up where the beach is,
Davy Prospect.
Davy Prospect area has always been a very turbulent beach.
Yeah.
Sand has been on the road, beach coming over in high tide and so on. So it's not that it's something new. Anyway, I stand corrected if somebody could prove to me that no EIA was done.
I'll bring you the EIA. If I bring the evidence to show you that no EIA was done, you would conclude that it was reckless on the part of the government.
I would conclude that it was not properly done.
They were reckless.
Reckless.
But it's a whole community, livelihoods,
yeah,
residents.
Some people are happy for the calm water where they
No, absolutely not. But I'll come back to you with that, Chris. I'll come back with the evidence for you. But Chris, we have an interesting conversation coming up with two gentlemen, Ruggles Ferguson, KC, and Dr. Malechi Doughton. And we're going to talk about the Solidarity with Cuba initiative. There is a lot happening, so I want the viewers to stay with us. When we come back, we'll have in this conversation about what Grenada, what the region, particularly Grenada, can do, will be doing to assist our brothers and sisters in Cuba. So stay with us, we'll be right back.
Introducing Tropical Catering Services.
The flavor of Grenada for all of life's moments.
From intimate gatherings to grand celebrations, we craft experiences you'll remember. Farm-to-table freshness, bold island flavors,
flawless presentation.
Full-service catering for every event.
Weddings, parties, corporate functions, and more.
Based in Grand Mall, St. George's, Grenada,
we bring island vibes to your venue.
Relish the moment. We handle the rest.
Tropical Catering Services.
Catering for all of life's events.
You've arrived in paradise. You felt the rhythm. Now let's make sure you say it right.
My name is Florian. I'm from the beautiful Aida Perla cruise ship. So today, like we Germans say, we are in Grenada. But I heard in English it's called Grenada.
Say it right. Grenada.
Say it right.
Grenada.
That's right. Grenada. There we go.
Say it right. It's Grenada.
It's not Grenada. It's Grenada. Say it right.
Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for life and allied laboratories. See our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for life and allied laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers. As we indicated before the break, that we're going to be having a discussion this evening with Ruggles Ferguson, Casey, and Dr. Malachi on the whole issue of what is happening in Cuba with the blockades and the various things the U.S. have recently introduced, and the strife and the conditions of what the average citizen in Cuba. Ruggles and Dr. Malachi have formed coordinators for what we call Citizens for Cuba, and the theme is Grateful Grenada Gives Back to Cuba. And you know, we celebrating what? April 2026 was 47 years of diplomatic relations between Grenada and Cuba. And I think we all are aware, every Grenadian is aware of how the Cubans have assisted us in healthcare, education, disaster response after Ivan. They were on the ground putting back up poles, and technical support. And over the years, we have had an excellent relationship with the people and country of Cuba. And I believe there's a time when they are in need now, and what we have to try and do as a country and as citizens is to see how we can assist. So these two gentlemen are going to talk to us about the initiatives that they are launching and how they could incorporate the average Grenadian and get us to assist where we can. A tin tuna will help if that is what you can afford. At the end of the day, they're in serious need for medical assistance, certain medicines. They need help in terms of energy and what is happening with their power and what is going on with the people-to-people relations as it relates to Cuba. So, gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I am going to start off by saying to Ruggles or Doc, whichever one, how is this initiative, first of all, how did it come about? And we would like you to tell us how we are going to go about it strategically so that we could make an indent in the lives of the people in Cuba.
Well, April the 14th marked, as you have said, the 47th anniversary of the establishment of bilateral relationship between the government and people of Cuba. And that relationship is rooted in genuine friendship. It is rooted in solidarity, cooperation, mutual respect, but importantly, shared development. And as you have said, Cuba has contributed invariably in relation to healthcare, education, technical support, and disaster. In fact, more than 400 graduates have studied in Cuba. So we're talking about, that's a lot, 100,000. But importantly, this initiative today is to ensure that we can mobilize national appreciation into tangible humanitarian support. Yeah. And with the objective to ensure that we can get financial and material support for Cuba. But that financial and material support, we are trying to guarantee that it is being done with a broad cross-section of Grenadians, massively, through inclusive participation, whereby we have got the churches involved,
so you have here schools, churches, trade unions, civil society, and the private sector.
So we have met with the churches, and it has been an exemplary deliberation from the churches, I should say. And many of the respective organizations, which obviously King Council Ruggles will deliberate on.
Yeah, and Ruggles, before you answer, you know, I didn't mention the fact that the assistance the Cubans gave us to have a international airport. Lives were lost. Precisely. That is how precious the relationship to us in Grenada have been. And I think, you know, that is something that we all must understand is a contribution that goes way beyond just government-to-government relations.
That's right.
It's person-to-person relationships.
Yes.
Casey, go ahead.
Yes, certainly. Very important point, because to date, over 40 years later, the international airport still represents our single largest project ever undertaken in Grenada. And without the assistance of Cuba, there would have been no airport.
That's correct.
There were other contributions, of course, but Cuba provided manpower, equipment, technical support, the expertise to enable that airport to be there. And as I've repeated several times in the past few days, that when that airport was being constructed, the theme, which is important to internalize, was Grenada's International Airport, gateway to Grenada's economic future. So it's not just an airport where we go to leave the country and come back to facilitate our entry and exit, but to open up this economy, to promote economic growth in the country. And it was planned and I think achieved to make the southern portion of our country the economic hub. So all the developments we see in the southern end of the country is really connected to the international airport and of course complemented by the St. George's University. And as my colleague Malachi mentioned, the healthcare, healthcare 47 years later, the first group of students to study in Cuba, I believe 109 in September 1999. And you have the benefits of these then students who are medical experts today, professionals specialized in different areas of medicine, and they are the ones, the pillar of the General Hospital. And to complement that, you have actual Cubans through the exchange program who have come in various areas to assist Grenada. You can't ask for more. And you have had so many great stories. Only last week, a senior professional, well-known individual in Grenada was saying, were it not for the Cubans recently, and I'm talking about recently, who they were able to deal with a family member, treat a family member who other doctors had recommended was gone and had to do some serious operations. And through their own expertise and care, that family member was able to recover and is on the bounce back. And this is only recent, but you hear all these hundreds of stories. And of course, other technical support. And that's why the theme of the month's activities, the center of the theme is gratitude. Really, gratitude. We cannot see a sister nation that has assisted us in such profound ways. And I say a country that has impacted through their assistance to Grenada, every single Grenadian, whether directly or indirectly, who we can count on to come to our aid in times of disaster. I remember in 2004, Ivan, we had Cuba, we had the Venezuelans coming to clean up the place throughout the country.
As we sat on the side.
It's interesting to say that because I was just about to say that.
So now we
remember. Yeah. So they were the ones. I sit back and say, well, you had to clean up there, this needs cleaning, etc. They came and selflessly assisted us. And today they need help. And we have a moral obligation. There's a certain standard.
The need is important.
Yes.
What they want.
Need. And there's a moral obligation to assist. And we, irrespective of anything.
Looking at your document on the approach and the strategic approach, and probably you could give us a little more, because it's broad-based participation, decentralized execution, unified branding. And, you know, the question is, what have your committee or organizers of this done in terms of what are the critical assessment that was done to identify critical needs for the Cuban people, the average Cuban person? Because you hear about people can't move, they have to walk to get to places because there's no petrol for their vehicles and so on. And of course the food and water and so on. So have your committee done an assessment to understand where we're going to center our approach and how we're going to do it?
Yes, we have also gotten information. We have been in touch with the Cuban ambassador who is here, and critically our ambassador, Glenn Noel, who is in Cuba. So we have been chatting with them. The most important thing is solar and solar equipment.
Power to get power.
Yes. Medicine and medical supply. These are critical for the population of Cuba in this time. And what we will do is to guarantee that whatever material, the finance that we receive, we can buy those things, yes, and ship it to Cuba.
I want to just interrupt you on the medicine part, because Cuba have been foremost and very prominent in developing medicines for their people in various areas. And obviously they have factories and operations that are producing those things, and the doctors. Is it that we're going to look to supply raw materials to continue that so that they could supply their people with their own medicines?
No, not at this time, because
you're finished product.
Yeah, finished product. You ought to understand that there is no electricity in Cuba because of the oil situation. So that makes it very difficult for them. Without electricity, it's very, very difficult to operate a hospital. Even medication that's supposed to be under certain condition, it cannot be. So it's extremely difficult. And most Cubans today are using even coal, not only for cooking, but also for transportation. You would have seen that innovation they would have done. It's remarkable. So it's a lot. It's a lot. We have heard about some debt due to the same problem. So, and Cuba have been faced with a blockade for centuries.
That's correct.
So 60 years. Yes, 60 years. When you look at the achievement of the Cuban people and the Cuban government, it's exemplary based on under that. A question ought to be asked. In Grenada, how long could we survive without a blockade?
The other question, the other question we have to ask now is, how are we going to get help into Cuba, as we're planning to help from the CARICOM region and probably countries, without disruptions from the U.S., who are the ones who have been the main instigators of this tragedy that is happening in Cuba? Because that is something we have to consider as well. How we getting the shipments in and how it's going to be protected, and who are we targeting in Cuba to centralize that the things that we send get to the people who need it?
Well, we have had, interestingly, a discussion with the churches. And we'll deliberate thereafter what the churches will do. But we have got here pastors who have said they will want to go to Cuba. They will want to go to Cuba to also deliberate some of those things with the churches and to give donation to the churches, and which we will organize through the respective embassies. So I'm just saying that. But interestingly, last December, we have mobilized some material from various companies, from Rivalio, Huggins, and we have sent those material to the Grenadian students who are studying in Cuba. we send it by a boat, and that boat left here, also pick up things from Jamaica and deliver to the student. And today, we can safely say the student have got sufficient items to the end of the year. So that's fortunate.
Yeah. I want to go.
So that boat left Grenada.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
I want to go a bit into the.
And that boat, sorry,
Finish,
again,
yeah.
that boat will you use.
Will be used again.
Yes,
Use
we'll
again.
use again.
So you have some experience, is what
Yes,
you're
we have
saying
some
in doing this.
experiences.
But I want to go on the. Here you have. Tell me a bit. We want to know a bit about the organizations here, because the question of transparency and credibility and trust is also important, because you're asking the Grenada public, general public, everyone, to make a contribution. The justification is clear, as you've explained it, in terms of the relationship. Everyone, every Grenadian, almost every Grenadian knows someone who studied in Cuba or relationship. So Cuba is like home for us. It's like family. So that's I think that's clear. People recognize what's happening there. The question is to the committee. Tell us a bit about the committee, its formation, and how you intend to function, the management of those resources. How is this going to be done? Because that's important to give the public confidence in this process going forward.
Yes. Well, transparency is critical. Now, let me indicate there is a core committee of Citizens for Cuba that drives the operations.
Right.
The committee itself is not doing everything. And that is why it's important to appeal to civil society organizations. In other words, we want community groups, any group, individuals, to organize activities on their own to raise funds. Right now, at the end of the day, those funds and their accounts being opened.
Yeah, tell us about that too.
Accounts being opened as we speak in certain financial institutions, and the particulars of those accounts will be made known, and there will be signatories to those accounts and well-known individuals too. And there will be just not receiving things, but we'll be given a running commentary of what is happening.
What is happening.
Yes, that is critical. So there are activities throughout the country, including Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And what is critical for the core committee is the identification, one, of an event, a date for the event, and persons to drive and ensure that the event happens. So these three features. So we have ultimately a central plan that involves all the activities, and the committee will assist with announcing all of these activities nationally.
You have a month, April the 14th to May the 14th. As you say, Solidarity with Cuba month.
Yes.
You were supposed to do a press conference on the 8th. Did that come?
Yes, yes.
And it was successful.
Yes, I'm sure it was in fact carried by this station. And the month officially started yesterday.
Right.
So yesterday was the 47th anniversary of Grenada-Cuba relations, and there was a special activity in Pier 57. Really organized by the Cuban embassy that involved government officials and different organizations. And that was a great event. In fact, there was a great turnout. And you had the acting Governor General, the Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, and so at that activity. And the critical, in a sense, kickoff, because what we are doing now is forming up the different activities.
Right.
So this week, right. So for example, just to give an example, the churches have agreed to do collections in the respective churches starting this weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, you have the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Saturdays, and you have the other churches, mainly Sundays. And collection. So let's say, and there are scores of churches in Grenada, as I have discovered as part of this exercise.
You didn't know that?
We're talking about 400, right?
400, I guess.
More than 500.
More than 500. Yeah, 500 churches.
Right.
Wow.
In terms of registered.
I mean, this is individual churches. You call in a Catholic church one church, or?
No, no.
They're among community churches.
Yeah,
500. Okay,
500. Yeah,
that's a lot.
So the point is, so let's say this weekend, we want to have the recommendation from the committee is to, starting this weekend, you have collections, let's see,
So a double collection
in 50 churches, right? In 50 churches.
Yes, yes.
This weekend, in 50. Next weekend, it will be another 50.
Yeah.
And the following weekend, another 50.
Yeah.
So what you have is that every church has the opportunity to contribute at least make one contribution towards Cuba.
If someone is watching right now and wants to help, what do they do tomorrow? What can they do? So I'm looking at this program now. I want to help. I want to be involved. I want to volunteer. What can I do? What is the advice to them? Where do they go? Where do they call?
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
As King Council have said, we have been able to decentralize activities. And decentralizing activities is to guarantee inclusive participatory aspect. Because we want to involve not only the churches, but the non-governmental organization, the community organization. So for example, in Victoria, in Guelph, we have got a coordinator, that's Dr. Antoine. He will coordinate all activities there.
Okay.
Yes?
So you've decentralized.
Decentralized the activities. In Victoria, we have Dr. Clarence Modest, Cuban Gathering, will coordinate all activities there. And already they have got a list of activities that will take place. In St. Patrick, we got Dr. Coy and Dr. Braveboy. They will coordinate that. In St. Andrew, Dr. Hines and Dr. Johnson. Then in St. David, we have Dr. Mitchell. St. George's, we have Dr. Donald. So, and they're just doing with coordination.
Yeah.
So you'll have various activities. For example,
give us some example of the kind of things. So let's pull out the community of Mount Morris, for example. What can that community practically do to generate?
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay.
Mount Morris.
Give us an example.
For example, the breakfast.
Okay.
And that breakfast could be in the name of Cuba.
Okay.
And that donation moves to
Right.
But interestingly, we will have representatives from the Conference of Churches at Signatory. We will have, obviously, from the non-governmental organization. And interestingly, Barron Campbell will be able to move in and see the deposit. Barron Campbell will not be able to remove money, but will be able to see.
So you have transparency on this.
What we call, because transparency is not something that you promise. It is something you practice. And to practice it, it ought to be in action.
Yes. And just to say again, in terms of the activities, so let me just give you some concrete. Apart from the churches, of course, the trade unions have committed to assist, and we have May Day coming up, May 1st.
Yes.
And
that's within the month, yes.
Right, yes, May 1st, within the month, and you have May Day celebrations in Carriacou this year. So there will be a special collection made for Cuba. Apart from solidarity messages, and of course you have the actual collections for Cuba, May Day. There will be a special dinner, professionals for Cuba, a $250 dinner targeting about 200 people, mainly professionals, graduates who have studied in Cuba. And that will be at the Trade Center. There's a date identified on May 6th for that particular activity. On May 9th, that's a Saturday, there will be a special concert for Cuba. And on May 15th, there will be a major activity in Grenville. And those details are being put in place
So
now.
there's going to be bulletins, there would be posters, there would be information to the public.
Right,
so we will know what's happening and what's taking place and where you can go to contribute.
Yes,
and also
because
we have
there's
a
short
website.
notice.
A
We
website
have to do
notice,
yes,
yes.
and Facebook
And
page,
Facebook page.
there. So and there'll be there are special activities in for satyrs too, and that should be confirmed by tomorrow in terms of the activity of
So
the.
we're spreading it
So
right through.
all
the
right
state.
through, right? This is about mass participation. This is not about an individual or two, because we want every Grenadian to be involved. One of it too would be the students. And $1 for Cuba, $1 a day for Cuba among the schools, where at least every student can contribute at least $1. Of course, you can contribute more. And that again, it's symbolic. It's symbolic. Apart from the actual monies that you collect in this exercise, it's symbolic gratitude.
So far you've been talking about money. And you talk about money to buy. But what are the other practical things that, besides money, that the committee is advising that community individuals can contribute outside of cash?
Right.
That is.
Well, why money?
No, I'm saying money. Yeah, that's key.
You know,
but are you accepting?
electricity.
Are you accepting anything other than monies?
Yes,
That's the point.
Yes,
and
yes.
what?
Medical supply.
Yeah.
Hygienic supply.
Food?
Yes, food. Yes,
Food stuff, tin stuff, that type of thing I'm talking
because there was
about.
one recommendation coming, and that was last night. To do barrels at supermarkets. Like you'll have the different supermarkets, and people put tin stuff. So one of the items I understand, I learned last night. You have mosquito coils because of the whole no electricity and everything. You have this upsurge of mosquitoes, and so there's need for mosquito coils. One businessman called a few days ago and promised a bale of toilet paper to go up. So you need all these sanitary things because energy affects everything. Every single thing.
Take it for granted.
Yes.
Well, what would you term successful? Success at the end of it. What are you looking for? What factors will determine that you've been successful in this campaign?
But do you know?
What would you be evaluating?
If each Grenadian give $1, that's 100,000. If each Grenadian give $10, that's $1 million. So the success is achieving financial and material support for Cuba, but critically building that relationship with the people of Cuba and the people of Grenada. You know what I'm very moved by? When the church leaders said that they don't want to go and deliberate in Cuba, and they don't want the Cubans come to deliberate here, because the language is not a problem, just like how we are speaking here. They can speak in English, and it's translated in Spanish. They can speak in Spanish, and it translates. And for us, that people-to-people relationship is critical, because it is that people-to-people relationship that we had 24 Cubans have lost their life. And when they lost their life, they were, as you have said, they were defending that purity, that spotlessness among the people, and that's the reason why they defended. They were not only defending themselves, but were defending the relationship. And for us, that's critical. This is what you call humanitarianism.
And the relationship between Cuba and Grenada has deepened in the 40+ years.
Yes.
It hasn't been on the surface and, we get involved with geopolitics and we see where we move on our way. It has deepened it
irrespective of which government is
that's right.
Yes.
I was about to say that.
Irrespective of which government is
it goes beyond political.
Of course.
In fact, last night at the activity, it was gracious to see the honorable opposition leader present in the activity.
So this is across the
transcends political tribalism.
It has nothing to do with partisan politics, partisan religion, partisan anything. But they, in fact, I just want to add on what you said. Of course, you want at the end of this exercise to be able to give as much as possible to the Cubans in terms of money, in terms of other forms of assistance, medical supplies, energy supplies, food supplies, and that would be great. But you know, there's an intangible aspect associated with it. Because we are not a rich country. But the fact that you are making an effort to give, and you're giving what you have, whatever that sum is an important symbolic gesture. It's an important gesture of appreciation. And that's why we emphasize Grateful Grenada. So it it's not only about the contribution itself, because what it does, it inspires other countries. Because several of the other islands have called because they want to give and they want that guidance. You know, you need people talking.
I want to be clear here that Cuba crisis is primarily the result of U.S. policy. Fundamental. We are responding to a crisis now. That's not a solution, obviously, to what's taking place in Cuba. The question is, should we also acknowledge internal economic inefficiencies in Cuba itself? I mean, because we want to fix this. We're responding in solidarity right now, and that's important because, as we stated, Cuba has always been there for not just Grenada, but for everyone, everywhere, Africa, wherever you are, even Europe during COVID. But the question is, where does Cuba go from here?
So you're inviting us to another discussion?
Where do we go from here? Because we're doing this, we'll get the solidarity, we'll have the solidarity, and that's important. Grenadians, I'm sure, will come forward because this is just, it is meaningful, it makes sense. They are brothers and sisters. But how do we, are we going beyond this? Because that policy don't change. Cuba remains in this situation. So what must happen, though, to evolve
the first issue
from this
is
situation?
survival. That's another discussion. It's an interesting discussion, but right now it is unqualified support to people who are in need now.
And should the region be responding more profoundly to?
Of course.
That's a good point.
And it is a hope that Grenada sets the example. And I think it's already setting the example. The problem we have, you know, everybody makes the comments. Not publicly, but in almost every discussion of what is going on in the world today. The absolute madness that is going on in the world, the threat to world peace, the possibility of a third world war. And up to this evening, high-ranking professional in the region was making the point. He said, listen, you know, the problem is that everybody watching the world, right, sink. Everybody watching the world possibly going into war.
And recession.
And everybody afraid to say something. No people, the governments of the world are basically saying, because it's so unpredictable what the response would be. But there are certain standards we must have. Listen, we are a country. We are people, a Caribbean people, that have struggled for centuries. This is nothing new. This is just another form of struggle and resistance. We don't have guns, we don't have bombs, but we have voices.
And solidarity.
And we must use those voices to speak out.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll follow through. Viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back.
In Grenada, sports aren't just a game, they're a way of life. They teach discipline, teamwork, and resilience. They inspire the next generation to push boundaries and chase excellence. That's why the Investment Migration Agency of Grenada is proud to support sports initiatives as part of our commitment to youth and national development. When we invest in sports programs, we invest in the future. We invest in the health and well-being of our youth, and we invest in broadening Grenada's reach, proudly connecting our athletes, our talent, and our nation to a global community. Together, we all go further. The Investment Migration Agency. Unlock the possibilities.
Bring the flavor, the love, and the legacy. This Mother's Day, it's more than cooking. It's storytelling on a plate. Mama's Spot, where every dish tells a story. Stay tuned. The heat is coming.
Is the air you're breathing really clean? At Allied Laboratories, we offer indoor air quality testing for commercial and residential spaces. Our rapid test results provide precise ratings of common air contaminants and will recommend the best actions to eliminate them effectively. Why do an indoor air quality test? Protect immunocompromised occupants, detection of mold and bacteria, identify volatile organic compounds, identify particulate matter, identify harmful pollutants that may otherwise go undetected, enhances safety and comfort, breathe easier and live healthier. Allied Laboratories, bringing quality laboratory services directly to you.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here with Dr. Malichi Dottin and Ruggles Ferguson KC, and we are talking about Cuba's support for Cuba, Cuba's solidarity for this month from the 14th of April to the 14th of May. Gentlemen, let's be honest. Will this one-month campaign meaningfully change life in Cuba? What happens next? I mean, what do we continue with? What do we... because we're looking for solution. This is important, but take me beyond this.
One cocoa fills the basket, as the saying goes.
Tell me about that.
Right? And therefore, the more contributions, that come, the better. However, the inspiration provided. I see it, for example, as going beyond May 14th.
Yes.
It will go beyond because the need is greater than just
the
one
solidarity I'm talking about.
Right.
No, but even regionally, if our program, what we're doing here, rolls out and the blueprint is well executed, then regionally we can get our partners.
That's the point.
So we may do April to May.
Precisely.
And another one may be doing June to July.
That's
right.
right.
And another continue to August.
That's
right.
Good.
Right.
But they have the blueprint here.
Yes. But the reason why we are concentrated like this, the reason why we're concentrated is that the assistance is needed yesterday. So you put everything into the month, it creates a synergy of its own to motivate others and to inspire others to do something. And it's not difficult to organize. Once these things are identified and you have people, competent people, and several people have called to offer their assistance.
This is the point I was making. Do you have numbers somewhere? Do you have a list of people where people could call for information that's coming? Okay.
All those things will be on the website. All those things will be on our
But people are calling.
But interestingly also, we'll publish all those things.
And any of the Cuban graduates, really. Any of the Cuban
graduates.
Because
as you were saying earlier on, you have, 400.
We have had meetings with the Cuban graduates. The committee of Cubans.
So they're going to play a leading role.
Leading role.
And apart, I should say, apart from the collections by the trade unions, on May Day, we are asking each of the trade unions to do a special fundraiser targeted at their membership for Cuba. So it could be a luncheon, it could be breakfast. So you have PW, for example, doing a breakfast to target people in the ministries, TAU doing a lunch to target. It's the general public, but I'm saying you can target your membership. So because the idea is to get everybody to contribute. Every single
I agree, but I sit here, colleagues, comrades, and and I 100% support this. This is timely, it's appropriate, and is necessary, and is needed. Kudos, But at the same time, and you see me hanging on the solidarity and the advocacy, because we need at the same time as we raise money and as we do all of these very important things for Cuba, to speak out against the injustices that's taking place. The United States policy towards Cuba. We have to advocate simultaneously on these matters.
Well, that is happening.
Yes.
Well, that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Right? That's why we're here. And throughout the month, there'll be radio programs, television programs throughout that period. Because again, the younger folk, for example, would not have that great appreciation.
And passion.
Right?
We have.
Of course, because we have lived through certain experiences. So in order to mobilize resources, we have to also educate and inform.
Precisely.
What is happening, the injustice taking place. All of these are critical components. They are all interrelated.
But the accounts that you're opening in the various financial institutions wouldn't be closed after May 14th.
No.
So
that's
there is an ongoing
Yes.
thing that people could contribute as the time moves on. And as you say, transparency here is going to be transparency in action. So we could get a report that in May we transferred $1 million.
Yes, that's it.
End of June or end of July, we transferred 200,000. You know, so that people could say that it's
and
continuing.
it can become competitive too. You know,
very much so.
You know, in terms of the different churches, for example, that certain churches probably donate more than, after a while, everybody want to donate the most. You know, that kind of spirit that you want to build. But it's an important point you made, Chris, because only today somebody called and proposed an activity for the end of May. You know, saying, well, certainly cool, that's not a problem. We just want that concentrated period to be able to send immediately. Because even a month is a long time. Many people die between now and the end of that month.
That's correct.
But you want to mitigate as much as possible, raise as much as possible in a concentrated short period of time, so you can send it immediately.
Well, there's no way of getting away from the fact that it's a crisis situation.
It is a crisis.
And the situation here is that the crisis will end at the 14th of May.
No.
15th of May.
No, it won't.
So our efforts regionally and nationally has to be continuous and ongoing until we can get policy to change their approach to Cuba. You know, kind of nonsense about regime change and so on. But until we get that, we have to be assisting where we can. And, you know, setting up a solar farm, something to give them power. You know, all of these are things down the road, but at the same time, as you say, immediate concern is now, strategically in the next year or so, where could we put them to assist them, you know, in these kind of critical areas.
Right.
So it has to be continuous.
It's important because the carnival season is probably 1 month. But Monday and Tuesday, these are the days.
Yes.
That's 2 days.
What about the diaspora? Any thought of that in terms of raising funds through that source also?
Yes, we have got some coordinators, and what they have recommended also is that you can move on your phone. So what we have been discussing with the bank is that someone from the US, anywhere, can move on the phone and donate directly to their account.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this has been
and
discussed.
also resources. I think that's jerseys and so out of these places, and you have a lot of unique and very creative ideas. And that's the beauty of inclusion, because things that you don't think about. As I've heard certain recommendations that I never thought about. One of the contributions from one of the parishes, for example, is to print jerseys, so you get sponsorship for the jerseys, print them and sell them. Solidarity for Cuba jerseys. So again, it makes the whole thing more visible.
So for example, you could have season paints, solidarities for Cuba.
Of course.
No, I think, I mean, this is, I mean, kudos. I just want to congratulate the committee. This is well thought out. I like the idea that it's national. It encompasses everyone, even school children, you know, everybody. But it's also taking on an educational dimension. I like this part of it. To understand the history of Cuba, understand the history of Cuba and Grenada relationship, and what the results are, particularly the training and those type of development. But before we close, what are the salient points? What are the key things you want to communicate to the audience at this point in terms of finally how they can participate, what to expect, and going forward, where they will find information on this ongoing initiative?
Yes. So let me just say that there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. There are people who have very creative ideas out there. And what I want to recommend, for example, is that people in workplaces, they can organize independent activities in workplaces and make a contribution from a workplace. You know, apart from the the churches, the trade unions, you can do it at the workplace and community levels. And we want to encourage that, because at the end of the day, the talk is important, the solidarity is important, the inspiration is important, but the measure of success would be what we can actually send, because that's what they
bottom line.
The bottom line is what they can send. So we are encouraging, don't wait to hear of an activity, organize an activity in your community, in your workplace, in your parish. Fishermen, farmers. There were some discussions with the farmers representative too. Everybody wants to help. Come up with a creative idea, assist and donate. That's basic. So that's where the decentralization comes in. We provide the inspiration, the information to the public on various activities, and coordinate everything to make sure it happens, and that at the end of the day we can present to the Cubans whatever assistance raised. So it is important that people see it as, no, well, what MPLA is doing and when and so, organize their own activity. And I know 1 or 2 workplaces that have undertaken to organize activities like a breakfast for Cuba, a lunch for Cuba there, and they do it at their level. And that's great.
All that's for Cuba, man.
I love Cuba.
That's a great idea.
Last Saturday I passed in the market. You know, I normally on a Saturday go and get my goodies in the market. And a lady, Miss Thomas, said, when are we collecting 10% from each and every one here for Cuba? I mean, that's so touching.
It shows how closely connected we are. Because, you know, every Grenadian has felt the touch of Cuba.
That's right.
Through medicine, through training, through whatever it is, every Grenadian has been touched. So I don't think we would have difficulty there.
They've been so selfless in giving over the years, not having much from themselves, because they've always been under the embargo and with restrictions. But they continue to support and to help countries in need.
You'll see the Cuban doctors will leave the hospital if they are living in Belmont, and they'll be walking all from the car, and they don't take bus. They'll be walking. Very simple. Street. Very humble people.
Yes, and it's important to, again, make the observation. You know, so many people these days are using the word embarrassment, that people feel so embarrassed that we're not doing more for Cuba.
I agree. And we started late. Chris, we were talking, we were saying, what's happening? What's happening?
I remember on your program, it was 2 weeks ago.
We feel so embarrassed. Cuba has done, and I think people looking within themselves will feel bad if they don't contribute.
So within the month, we want to be able on Community Forum here to provide updates, to be able to communicate what's happening, where you should go, where the fundraisers are. So we want to work with you over the next 4 weeks to promote this, because this is a worthy cause. Chris.
Yes, of course. We fully behind that, and in the sense that whatever we could do to promote, whether it's activities or highlight groups that have been doing stuff and what have happened, that is important. And let us do it.
So your final comments, closing comment, Dr. Milici first, Dr. Doughton first.
Humanitarianism is something you practice, you don't promise it. I am convinced that because of the inclusiveness, Grenadians will participate, and we will hasten the days of happiness for the Cuban people. It has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Casey.
Well, I just want to express my own pleasure to see that people are coming out of their slumber. I think people have been shocked about what is taking place in the world, what took place in the Caribbean. It's like, who would expect such to happen? And the greatest fear is fear itself. And when you drown yourself in fear, and you tie your tongue and you close your mouth,
silence.
Somebody has to speak. And somebody has to speak out, and you'll feel much better speaking out than, you're crawling on your knees to some poor individual who it's like transactional, right? Is what you can get. And boy, if you support Cuba, what will happen? We have to support Cuba. And what happens at the end of the day. We'll feel better about it. We have a moral obligation to do it. And people, at the end of the day, would respect us more. They would respect us more. People don't like cowards. And even bullies don't like cowards. Bullies bully cowards more than they bully other people. And we must stand up as not just a nation, a region. We did Ogba had a presentation from Sir Ron Sanders, and he's actually the ambassador to the US. And you know what he said? He said, listen, if everybody in the region come together and do something, what can be the consequence? Or everybody face a consequence?
Excellent.
It's only when few come forward. The few will be targeted, and they say, boy, everybody, it makes everybody else right.
Collectivity.
Collectivity, unity is important in this period. And we owe it to our ancestors, those who have struggled, blood, sweat, and tears to bring us to enjoy what we enjoy today. We cannot let them down. And therefore, we must start, as small as it is, to make our contributions and let our voices be heard.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I will
have
only,
our support,
I will, yeah, absolutely. And I would only add to this that at the same time we have to talk out about the injustices that has been carried out by the United States of America on this matter,
Well, the world is speaking about it, right? You don't even have to interpret it. Look at what's happening.
The UN everywhere.
And remember what I said once?
Yeah.
I think in one of these same programs, when you had this famous quote in the 1940s, after the Second World War. First they came for the communists, and I said nothing because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I said nothing because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I said nothing because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to say anything.
Well said.
Right? And we have to recognize that. And I feel very strongly about that because we have rule of law champions all over the place. You have shooting people in the waters and everybody afraid to speak. Right? Just extrajudicial killings taking place. We have to speak out against these things. We have to find our voices and speak out. And like I say, translated, so first they came for they shot people in the seas. Nobody said nothing. Because we are not in the sea. Right? We said nothing. Then they kidnapped the president of Venezuela and his wife. He said, no, we are not Venezuela.
At the same time, killing over 100 people in doing that.
And then go Iran. And now we are affected by it because all energy prices, and all you all speaking about it earlier, going up. Right? And we say nothing. So when they come for us now, who will talk is the same, everybody so frozen by silence. Nobody is
saying that silence is very expensive.
They watch our prime minister being taken, right? Take on a plane and say, you could just say anything, You could just declare Byron Cameron in the sea. That's an narco-terrorist and shooting.
Yes.
Will you ever hear that?
Yes.
Right?
It's mandatory.
Boasting about it. We have to find our voices. We have to find our voices. And we have to speak. Because that's our main strength right now. We can't bomb nobody. We can't shoot nobody.
All we have is our voices.
We have enough stone to pelt behind people. So what we have is our voices. And we must speak up against these things.
Absolutely. Chris.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think we are fully informed on what needs to happen and where we're going, and we are going to be supporting from our end as much as we can and participating where we can as well. So
thanks for the courtesy extended to us.
Yes. So
Please, and we hope to get an update
and
closer to the end.
we could bring you back
Mongmore's breakfast.
after the
breakfast,
end
yes.
of May and
Yes.
find out how we have done and where we are.
Very much.
Thank you, colleagues. Viewers, that's all the time we have from MTV Community Forum, our technical staff, management. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Yeah.